This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
Keeping our kids safe no matter where they are is obviously a top priority. When we're on the road, our first line of defense for the little ones, a car seat. While there's been a lot of work done to protect children during a frontal crash, there's one area through the years that has not received much attention, a side impact crash. Now that's changing. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has proposed new standards for car seats to keep children safe in side impact collisions. The administration plans on using a specially designed test with child-sized dummies to see which seats meet the standards. Under the proposed standards, the seats would have to protect a child's head from the car's door if it was crushed in a side impact accident.
It's an incredibly dangerous situation where if the child's seat is placed right next to the door, the impact of that crash could sadly send their head into the door and cause serious injury. The goal of this new test is to ensure that child seats improve their protection of the child's head and torso in that kind of crash. Basically what they'll be doing is adding some more foam padding and maybe increasing the size of the side wings to keep those children protected.
Once the new rules are in place, car seat makers will have 3 years to comply. The administration says the new rules will save the lives of 5 children and prevent 64 injuries a year. The truth is, nobody wants to be in an automobile accident, especially one that involves children. Sadly, it happens all the time. State Farm Insurance reports car crashes are the leading cause of death and the leading cause of disabling injury in children 14 years and under. That's why it's so important to use a car seat, especially considering all the distracted and aggressive driving these days. You just never know what's going to happen when you get behind the wheel. But do you know the laws regarding seats in your state? Well, in Delaware, infants and children must be in a car seat up until age 8 or until they weigh 65 pounds, whichever comes first. In Maryland, infants and children must be in a car seat until they are at least 8 years old or taller than 4 feet 9 inches. And in Virginia, it's until the child turns 8 years old. There are no height or weight requirements. It goes solely on age in Virginia. But the laws aren't going to do much good if you don't install the car seat properly. And get this, State Farm reports more than 80% of child car seats are used improperly. Jimmy, that number is downright scary, but your next guests are going to help lower that number by showing you how to install the car seat properly.
Lisa, you're absolutely right. It's amazing how many car seats are installed improperly. It's just boggling of the mind. So joining us this afternoon is State Farm Insurance agent Gamey Elliott, as well as Jennifer Johnson from Safe Kids Lower Shore to talk to us about this. Gamey, it is scary how many seats are improperly installed.
It's amazing how many are improperly installed, and it's so important to do your seat safety check. Both your parents, the parents should be aware of it, as well as grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody who's dealing with a child in a child seat.
So make sure that you get those things put in properly. There are some common mistakes that people make.
One of the common mistakes people make is that they don't have the harness straps at the right height.
Right.
If they should be at an infant's shoulder or below for a rear-facing seat, and at the child's shoulder or above for a forward-facing seat.
Okay.
Another thing that we see a lot of times is that the strap clips are at the stomach, and they really should be up at the chest. So you got to make sure that that's proper. And a big one is excessive seat movement. If that seat can move more than an inch left, right, or around, it's not properly installed, it's not secured. You really need to go back and properly tighten that as tight as you can. And in addition, another thing that happens a lot of time is that the harness strap itself, if there's more than 2 inches in the harness strap, then that's too loose, and you probably need to adjust that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're going to talk about that here in just a second. As a matter of fact, Jennifer, this is where you come in, because it all starts bringing the baby home from the hospital. We put the baby in the car. Which direction should the child face?
Rear facing.
Rear facing.
They need to be rear facing really up to age 2 is the safest way for them to travel. And there's other countries that actually have them rear facing until about 3 or 4.
Oh my.
A lot of times the parents are quick, I think, to turn them around, but we really want them to be traveling as safe as possible.
Right. Okay, so you're here to show us how to properly install a car seat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's go on around here. We've got a car seat in our vehicle, excuse me, Gamey, and you're going to show us the most important steps when it comes to installing our car seats.
Correct. when the baby comes home from the hospital, you want to make sure that you have that correct angle because of their breathing. You want to make sure that they can breathe well, and you don't want them upright because then their head may fall forward.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things. Now, when you're installing the car seat, first of all, these straps, when you have an infant, this seat starts at 5 pounds. People might look at this and think, 5 pounds, how can a 5-pound baby be in this seat? We have the straps at the lowest level, and just like Gamey said, you do want to make sure when they're rear facing that they're at their shoulders or below. So 2 ways to install. You can install with lower latches. They're not in every vehicle, but most vehicles from 2002 to the present have the lower latch system, which is actually down in your seat is a bar.
And you hook onto that.
And you just clip it in. You can pull this back so you can get a better grip on it. But again, you want to tighten it so that the seat doesn't move more than an inch.
Gotcha.
Okay? The other way you can install the car seat is actually using the seat belt.
Right.
And you feed it through the same belt path.
Okay.
You have 2 different belt paths. When you have a rear-facing seat, it's going to go through this belt path. When you turn them to forward-facing,
Right.
there's another belt path.
Okay. So can I just do both at the same time?
Well, as of right now, there are not really seats that you would use both the latch and the seat belt.
Right.
Because it can almost be too much stress on the car seat.
Okay.
So you use one or the other.
Gotcha.
But that's not to say that it won't change. I mean,
Okay.
we could eventually have seats. Then what you want to do is you want to make sure that your seat belt is in locking position. Okay? If it's not in locking position, the only time this would be tightened is if somebody slams on the brakes.
Right. We
So
turn them around, what, when they're 2?
we suggest they do stay rear facing at least till 2. However, if you have a child that is a very low weight, they may need to stay rear facing even longer. Your seats will tell you poundage wise how long you can keep them rear facing according to weight,
Right.
not necessarily age.
Okay.
But we usually say we do want them to stay rear facing at least until 2.
Okay, harness seatbelt. Let's say we turn the seat around. Harness seatbelt. Which one's safer, as far as the child?
Both are fine. Just make sure that you get a good tight fit.
Mm-hmm.
You may try, and because of the angle of your vehicle seat, the latch may not go tight enough.
Right.
So sometimes when I'm at a seat check, if I have somebody that says, I really want to use latch, but we can't get it tight enough, we may have to go to the seat belt.
When should we switch to a booster?
Boosters, they usually say about 4, but again, you really have to look at weight of the child, and also you have to look at how mature is the child. If you have a child that is 4 and you think at a light they may unbuckle their seat belt, because if you're using a booster with just a seat belt, then they probably need to stay in a harness longer.
We have dished out a ton of information here, and there is so much more, but you have an event coming up talking about that very thing. Tell me about that.
Yes. This Saturday, we have a car seat check, which we usually have about 1 a month. It's at Sam's Club in the parking lot, and it's from 11 to 3.
Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely free.
It's absolutely free. You don't have to call and make an appointment. You just show up. The hard thing is, as a new parent, or even as your children get older and you're switching to different seats, we're not experts on everything.
Right.
So that's why, as a parent, you need to make sure that you go to the experts and make sure that it's installed correctly. The event
everything
is
you can.
completely free, and it's worth it to make sure that your children are traveling very safe.
And it's a precious cargo. So
That's
take
right.
care. Thank you, ladies, so very much. Now, if you would like to find out more about what Jennifer just had to say or what Gamey just had to say, all you have to do is go to our website at WBOC.com, click on our picture there at the top of the page.